The storm screamed across the frozen land. A lone spaceship tore through the sky, fire trailing from its broken engines. Inside, David held the controls tight, his hands shaking, his breath fast. Warning lights flashed red, alarms rang, but he already knew the ship was lost. It was falling fast. Down into a world covered in endless ice. The crash shook the ground. Snow and metal flew in every direction. David was thrown against his seat, his vision blurred, his body weak. When the ship finally stopped, silence pressed in, broken only. By the wind, he tried to move, his bones ached. But he forced himself out of the wreck. The air was sharp, colder than anything he had ever felt. It cut into his skin, into his lungs, like knives made of frost. The planet stretched in all directions. Empty, white, and endless. No trees, no life. Only jagged cliffs and frozen plains. He pulled his broken suit tighter, but it gave little warmth. He knew he could not survive long, not in this place. His breath turned to ice as it left his mouth. His fingers already numb, his body shaking. He whispered to himself, "I'm dead. I won't last the night." Still, he walked, leaving deep footprints in the snow. He searched for shelter, for anything. But there was nothing. The wind grew, stronger, pushing him, trying to knock him down. His vision blurred again. Dark spots danced before his eyes. Each step felt heavier. His body weaker, he stumbled, fell into the snow, tried to rise, fell again as he lay there. Ready to close his eyes forever, something strange appeared. A light, faint, glowing in the distance. Not from his broken ship, it moved, flickering. As if carried by someone, hope sparked in his chest, but fear followed. What if it was not human? What if it was worse than the cold? He pushed himself up. Every muscle screaming, he followed the light, dragging his heavy feet. The glow grew brighter. Closer, until he saw a figure, tall, slim, wrapped in strange furs, glowing blue eyes in the dark. Not human, not at all. It turned and looked at him, and for a moment, he thought he saw anger or pity. The figure spoke, the voice sharp, but also desperate. "Shut up, human. We're freezing. Get in my bed now." The words hit him like a shock. He had no idea what they meant, no idea who this creature was, but his body was too weak to argue, too cold to question. Darkness closed in around him, and his last thought was simple. He was not alone on this frozen world. David opened his eyes slowly. His body heavy, his head full of fog. The first thing he felt was warmth. A strange warmth, not from fire, not from machines, but from something alive. He tried to sit up, but a strong hand pushed him back down. "Stay still, human. You are weak." The cold almost killed you. The voice said it was the same voice he heard before the darkness, sharp, commanding. Yet carrying a strange kind of fear. He blinked. His vision clearing, the shelter around him was made of ice walls, glowing faintly blue. Animal skins hung across the entrance, blocking the wind. Strange carvings marked the walls, symbols he did not know. The air inside was warmer than outside, but still biting cold. He turned his head, and there she was. The alien woman, tall and lean, her skin pale with a faint shimmer. Like frost under moonlight, her eyes glowed faint blue, sharp and watching him. She wore layers of thick furs, but her movements were graceful. Almost like a warrior, David stared, not knowing if she was friend or enemy. Her expression showed no smile, no welcome, only suspicion. "You are alive because of me, human. Remember that?" she said. Voice cut through the silence, calm but edged like a blade. David swallowed, his throat dry, his lips cracked. "Why? Why did you help me?" he asked weakly. The alien woman narrowed her eyes, leaned closer. "Do not think it was kindness, human. I need you, and you need me. Confusion filled David, his mind still slow from the cold. She explained, in short words, no softness, no mercy. This world kills alone. No one survives without another. Your kind gives heat, more heat than mine. I saved you because your body will keep us alive. If you die, I die. So stay alive, human. Her words felt strange, almost insulting, yet filled with truth. David realized she was desperate too, not just him. Still, he asked again, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" The woman looked away, her jaw tight, as if hiding something. "My name is Zyra, and I am nothing, only an exile. Thrown away by my people, this frozen land is my prison, my grave, and now, human, it is also yours." David felt a chill colder than the storm outside. She was not here by choice. She was sent here to die. But she had survived, alone, against the ice. And now, somehow, their fates were tied together. He tried to rise again, but his legs shook, weak. Zyra stepped closer, her eyes sharp. "You will not walk far. You are broken. Rest now." David's pride burned, but his body agreed. He lay back, his thoughts racing. Why had fate placed him here? With her, on this frozen prison, Zyra sat by the entrance. Sharpening a blade made of strange crystal, the sound echoed in the shelter. Cold and sharp, she did not look at him, but he felt her presence like fire in the ice. Hours passed, silence heavy between them. At last, David spoke. "You saved me, but you don't trust me. Why?" Zyra's hand paused on the blade, her voice low. "Trust is for the weak. Human, I trust no one, not even myself. But survival is different. Survival makes allies of enemies. You and I are not friends, but we are not dead. That is enough." Her words stung, but they were honest. David closed his eyes, trying to rest. But questions burned in his mind. Why was she exiled? What crime had she done? And if her people had power to send her here, what did that mean for him? He thought of Earth, of home, far away, and for the first time. He wondered if he would ever see it again. The wind outside howled louder, shaking the walls. Zyra stood, looked out through a crack in the ice. Her hand tightened on her weapon, her eyes narrowing. David forced himself up, weak but alert. "What is it?" he asked, his voice rough. She did not answer right away, only whispered, "They are searching, always searching to make sure I never leave. And now, human, they will know you are here too." David's heart pounded. He realized this woman was not just an exile. She was hunted, and now he, a broken astronaut, was part of her dangerous world. In that moment, he understood the truth. The crash was only the beginning. The real fight was about to begin. The storm raged outside, throwing ice and snow against the walls of the shelter. Inside, silence stretched between David and Zyra, heavy and sharp. The fire of survival burned in both of them. But trust did not. David sat up slowly, his body still weak, his breath misting in the cold air. Zyra's glowing eyes followed him, always watching, always calculating. He finally spoke, his voice steady. "If you saved me only for warmth, then what happens when I am too weak to give it?" Zyra's jaw tightened. She looked away, the blade in her hand catching the blue glow of the ice. "Then you will die, human, and I will die with you. Simple truth," she said without emotion. Her words cut deeper than the cold, not because of cruelty, but because of honesty. David clenched his fists, anger and fear mixing inside him. "No," he said firmly, his voice echoing in the small shelter. "If we stay here waiting to die, then we are already dead. I won't sit like a frozen rock waiting for the end if you need me alive. Then you will help me find a way out." Zyra turned her head slowly, her glowing eyes narrowing. "You give orders now, human?" she asked, her voice sharp, almost mocking. David met her stare, not breaking, not lowering his eyes. I am not your slave. I am not your prisoner. You need me, and I need you. That makes us partners. So here is my deal. Zyra, help me escape this frozen world. In return, I will help you survive. For a long moment, she said nothing. Only the sound of the wind filled the shelter. Her eyes glowed brighter, like ice fire, unreadable. Then she laughed, a low, bitter laugh that carried no joy. You are bold, human, weak, broken, yet you bargain like a warlord. Do you not understand? There is no escape from this world. It is my prison, and now it is yours too. David shook his head, his voice firm. Every prison has a crack. Every wall has a weak point. If I give up, I die. If I fight, I might live. I choose to fight, and if you want to live, you should too. Zyra's hand gripped her blade tighter, her knuckles pale against the crystal. She stepped closer, her shadow falling across him. You are strange, human. My people would beg, cry, or break, but you, even half dead. You stand against me with words of fire. Perhaps this is why your kind spread so far in the stars. Perhaps this is why my people fear yours. David did not answer, but his silence spoke enough. He would not bend, he would not break. Zyra finally lowered her blade, sat down across from him. Very well, human. I accept your deal, but no. The path you choose is not survival. It is war against the cold. Against the hunters, against fate itself. David nodded slowly, his heart pounding with both fear and determination. War is better than death. I will take that chance. Zyra's lips curved, not into a smile, but into something darker. Then listen, human. There are ruins beneath the ice. Old and dangerous. They are forbidden. Yet they hold secrets, if you truly seek escape. The answer may sleep there. David leaned forward, every nerve alive, with new hope. What kind of secrets? He asked. Zyra's eyes grew distant, her voice lower, almost a whisper. Machines older than empires, power left by those who walked the stars before us. My people fear them, so they sent me here to die with them. Perhaps they feared what I might find. Perhaps they fear what you, human, might awaken. A shiver passed down David's spine. The idea of hidden power, locked under the ice, waiting for him. It sounded like madness, but also like hope. He clenched his fists, whispering to himself. Then that is where I will go. Zyra stood tall, her shadow long against the glowing walls. Do not mistake this. Human, I lead. You follow. You may be bold. But this land is death, and I know its face. Without me, you will last only hours. With me, you may last days. Together, perhaps longer. David met her eyes one last time. Then we have a deal, he said, his voice steady. The storm outside howled, but inside, a fragile bond was forged. Not of trust, not of friendship, but of survival and fire, the human and the exile, tied together by a desperate pact. As David closed his eyes to rest again, he heard her whisper softly, almost to herself, you are not like the others, human. Perhaps you are more dangerous than the cold. He did not answer, but deep inside, he knew the real danger was not the storm, not the hunters, not even Zyra. The real danger was the choice he had made, to fight, to bargain, to survive, and in that choice, everything would change. The storm had passed, leaving the land quiet, white and endless. David followed Zyra across the frozen plain, each step heavy in the deep snow. The wind cut at his face, but he kept moving, his mind fixed on her words. Ruins beneath the ice. Machines older than empires. It sounded impossible, yet it was the only chance of escape. Zyra walked ahead, silent and sharp, her cloak of furs trailing behind her. She moved like she belonged to the ice. Light and steady, David stumbled often, his body still weak, but his will strong every time he fell. Zira stopped and watched, her glowing eyes cold. She never offered a hand, never spoke comfort, only waited until he rose again. At last they reached a cliff of jagged ice. A deep crack split the ground. Vanishing into darkness, Zira stopped, her voice low. This is the place, human, beneath this ice. The old ones sleep. Step carefully, for some things do not want to be woken. David looked down into the crack. Fear twisting in his chest, the darkness seemed endless. A mouth waiting to swallow him. Still, he nodded, his voice firm. Then we go down. Zira gave him a long stare, then turned. She pulled a rope of woven hides from her pack, tying it to a spike of crystal, without hesitation. She slid into the darkness below. David followed, his hands numb on the rope. His breath loud in his ears. The descent felt endless, the ice walls glowing faintly with trapped light. Strange shapes were frozen inside. Bones, broken machines, things David could not name. The deeper they went, the colder it became. The air thick with silence. At last their feet touched solid ground. A cavern, vast and echoing blue light shimmered across walls of ice, and in the center lay a structure. It was not natural, not ice, not stone. A great tower of black metal rose from the ground, cracked but unbroken. Symbols carved across its surface glowed faintly, as if breathing. David's heart raced, awe filling him. This is impossible, he whispered. Zira's voice echoed in the cavern. Sharp, this is forbidden, human, even to speak of it. My people fear this place. They say it curses those who touch it. That is why they cast me here, to die with it. David stepped closer, his eyes wide. The tower pulsed with faint light as if answering him. His breath caught in his throat. It's reacting. To me, he whispered. Zira's hand shot out, gripping his arm. Do not touch it, human, you do not know what it is. But David could feel it. A pull deep inside him, as if the tower itself recognized him. Called to him, he broke free from her grip, his hand trembling as it hovered near the surface. The black metal was cold, yet alive when his skin brushed against it. Light surged, the cavern shook, the ice cracked. Blue fire raced across the walls. Zira cried out, her blade drawn, her eyes wide with fear. What have you done, human? The tower roared with sound, low and deep, like a heartbeat of a giant. Symbols flared brighter, casting shadows across the cavern. Machines stirred beneath the ice. Long buried, but not dead, David staggered back, his chest tight, his heart racing. But inside, a strange warmth filled him. The tower had answered him, not her, not anyone else. Only him. Zira stared at him, shock and fear mixed on her face. This is why they fear your kind, human. You touch what others fear, and it obeys you. You are dangerous, more dangerous than even you know. Her voice shook for the first time. Since he met her, David tried to speak, but the ground rumbled. Cracks spread across the ice, echoing through the cavern. From the shadows, shapes moved. Machines of bone and metal, they rose slowly, their eyes glowing like embers. Guardians of the tower, awake after ages of silence. Zira stepped back, her blade ready. David's breath came fast, his hands shaking. He whispered, I didn't mean to. I didn't know, but the guardians advanced, heavy steps shaking the cavern. Their voices were not words, but grinding echoes of ancient commands. Run, Zira hissed, grabbing his arm. Pulling him toward the rope, the cavern roared behind them, ice falling, machines waking. David looked back once, the tower shining brighter than ever. He knew it now. Deep in his bones, the tower had chosen him. and nothing would ever be the same again. The cavern shook behind them, echoes of ancient machines roaring in the dark. David climbed the rope with shaking hands, his breath harsh, his arms burning. Xyra was above him, moving fast and sure. Her blade tied to her back. The sound of the guardians grew louder, metal grinding against stone when David reached the surface. The storm had returned, wind screaming like a beast. He collapsed into the snow, gasping, his chest on fire. Xyra pulled him up roughly, her glowing eyes fierce. "You touched the forbidden, human. You woke what should have slept forever," she hissed. David wanted to argue, but the ground trembled. Again, the crack in the ice glowed faint blue, as if the machines were climbing. "We can't stay here," David said, his voice low but firm. Xyra nodded, her jaw tight. "We run, human, now." They moved across the snow, their footprints swallowed quickly by the storm. David's mind raced, filled with fear and fire. The tower had answered him, but it had also unleashed danger. Hours passed as they walked. The frozen land endless. The cold bit into their skin, but the thought of what chased them was colder. David's legs ached, his body heavy, but he pushed. On at last, Xyra raised her hand, stopping him. Her eyes narrowed. Her head tilted, listening to the wind. David frowned. "What is it?" he whispered. She drew her blade slowly, her voice sharp. "Not machines, not guardians. This sound is different. Hunters." She spat the word like poison. "Who?" David asked, fear creeping into his voice. "My people's shadows," Xyra said bitterly. "They were sent to make sure I never rise again. Now they know you are with me. They will kill you too." Before David could speak, shapes appeared in the storm, tall figures in black armor, moving with deadly grace. Their weapons glowed faintly, long spears humming with energy. They spread out, circling, voices cold and sharp in a tongue David did not know. But he understood enough. They were here for blood. Xyra stepped forward, her blade raised, her eyes like burning ice. "You should have stayed in your palaces," she shouted into the storm. The hunters laughed, cruel and hollow. "You should have died in the snow," Exile one answered. "Now we will finish the task." David's heart raced, his hands shaking. He had no weapon, no armor, nothing but his will. The hunters closed in, snow swirling around them. Xyra moved first, fast as lightning, her blade striking with sparks. 2 hunters fell back, their armor cut, but more pressed forward. David grabbed a broken shard of crystal from the ground. It was heavy, sharp, his only chance. He swung it as one. Hunter lunged. The spear missed his chest by inches. The crystal slammed into the helmet. The hunter fell, stunned. The snow stained dark. Adrenaline filled David, his fear burning into fire. He shouted, swinging again. Raw and desperate, the hunters looked at him with surprise. He was weaker, smaller, untrained. But he did not break. He did not run. Xyra fought. Beside him, her blade flashing, for the first time, David saw her smile. Not of joy, but of savage pride. "You fight like a beast, human," she called. David gritted his teeth. "I fight because I must." The storm howled louder, covering the clash of blades. Hunter drove his spear into the snow, missing David by a breath. David slammed the crystal shard down, breaking the weapon in half. Xyra finished the hunter with one clean strike. But more shadows appeared, endless, circling tighter. David's chest heaved. His arms weak. "We can't hold them," he gasped. Xyra's eyes flashed. "We don't, human. We run. But not blind. Follow me." She cut through 2 more hunters, grabbed David's arm and pulled him into the storm. They ran, the snow blinding. The cold cutting behind them, voices shouted, weapons crackled. David stumbled, but Xyra never let go, dragging him onward. At last, she pushed him into a hollow. In the ice, hidden from sight, they crouched together, breathless. The hunter's footsteps passing above. In the silence, David whispered, "They want you dead so badly. Why?" Zira's eyes glowed in the dark, her face shadowed. "Because I know their secret, human. Because I refuse to be silent. Because I saw what they planned for the stars. And now you have seen too." David's breath caught, fear and curiosity twisting inside him. "What secret?" he asked, but before she could answer, the hunters' voices grew louder again. Zira gripped her blade, her voice cold. "Not here. Not now, human. If we survive this night, then you will know. If not, the snow will keep our bones." David closed his eyes, his body trembling from cold and exhaustion. But inside, his fire grew stronger. He had faced machines, storms, and now alien hunters. And still he stood. Still he fought. Somewhere deep inside, he felt it again, the tower's pull. A voice without words, a promise of power waiting for him. The hunters passed, the storm screamed. Zira's eyes met his in the dark, fierce and unbroken. "Do not die, human." "I am not done with you yet," she whispered. David gave a tired, sharp smile. "I don't plan on dying," he said, and though the storm still raged, he believed his words. The storm faded slowly, leaving only silence and endless white around them. David sat against the ice wall, his chest rising fast, his breath sharp. Zira stood nearby, her blade still in her hand, her glowing eyes scanning the horizon. For hours they waited, listening for the hunters. Only when the land was quiet again did she lower her weapon. David spoke first, his voice low, tired but steady. "You said they hunt you because you know a secret. You said I have seen too much already. I need to know, Zira. What are you hiding from me?" Her eyes shifted to him, sharp as crystal, full of weight. For a long time, she did not answer. Her silence was heavier than the snow. Finally, she turned, sitting across from him, her blade resting by her side. Her voice was calm, but every word was edged with pain. "My people are not what they pretend to be. Human, they call themselves rulers of light, guardians of stars, but they are liars, thieves of life." David leaned forward, his chest tight. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice urgent. Zira's eyes glowed faint, her words slow. "My people's empire grows not by honor, not by trade, but by hunger. They drain worlds, strip them until nothing remains. They take energy, oceans, skies, even souls. When they are done, nothing is left but ash and silence." David's blood ran cold. He had heard of conquest, of war, but never of this, and earth. He whispered, fear in his chest. Zira nodded once, sharp and grim. "Yes, human, your world is on their list. They will come, they will take, and they will leave nothing." David's hands curled into fists, his fire burning brighter. "Why? Tell me this. Why tell anyone?" Zira's face twisted, her jaw tight. "Because I tried to stop them. Human. I spoke against the High Council. I demanded the truth be known. For that, they called me traitor. For that, they cast me here, into the ice, and they sent hunters to make sure I never rise again." Her voice broke for the first time, just a crack. David saw the weight she carried. Alone in exile, he felt anger not at her, but at those who threw her away. He whispered, "You risked everything for the truth." Zira's eyes locked on his, glowing bright. "And now you see why they fear me. Human, not because I am strong, but because I know, and knowledge is more deadly than any blade." The silence stretched, filled only by the moan of distant wind. David's mind raced, his heart burning with rage and resolve. "If what you say is true, then I can't go home empty. I must warn my people. I must fight them. Zyra's lips curved, not a smile, but a sad shadow of one. Bold words, human, but boldness is not enough. Your kind is young in the stars. Still small against empires, alone, Earth cannot stand against them. David leaned forward, his voice sharp. Then I won't let Earth stand alone if I can find the power in those ruins. If I can use it, maybe we have a chance, Zyra's eyes narrowed, her tone warning. You speak of the forbidden. The machines that even my people fear. They could kill you, twist you, break your mind, or they could give you power enough to burn worlds. Is that what you want, human? David's breath came hard, but his voice was steady. I don't want power. I want survival. I want to live. I want my people to live. If that means I take the fire they fear, then so be it. Zyra studied him, her gaze unreadable. For a long time she said nothing. Then at last she whispered, Perhaps this is why the tower called to you. Perhaps this is why it woke when you touched it. Maybe it was waiting for your kind. David shivered, not from the cold, but from the weight of her words. The thought of being chosen by something so ancient filled him with both fear and hope. But he could not turn away now. Not after what he had learned. He looked at Zyra, his voice steady. If I fight, will you fight? With me. Zyra's eyes glowed brighter, her face stern. I am already dead to my people. Human. The hunters will never stop until my blood freezes in this snow. But if I fight with you, maybe my exile has meaning. Maybe my end will carry weight. She raised her blade, its edge shining cold. Yes, human. I will fight, but know this. Our path will not end in peace. It will end in fire and blood. David met her gaze, unflinching. Then fire it is, he said, in the silence that followed. Something changed, not just survival, not just a deal, but a bond forged in truth and danger. The human and the exile, no longer strangers. Now they were allies. Now they were a spark against the darkness. Far away in the heart of the frozen planet, the tower pulsed again, glowing faintly through the cracks in the ice. Its heartbeat echoed through the land, deep and low, as if it had heard their words, as if it was waiting for what would come next. The frozen horizon burned with strange light. Storm clouds split as if the sky itself feared what was waking below. David and Zyra stood at the edge of the ruins once more, the tower's pulse rising like a heartbeat. Hunters moved in the distance, their black armor glinting faint in the storm, closing in from every side and beneath the ground. The guardians stirred, awakened by David's touch. Restless and waiting, Zyra's voice was low, sharp, full of tension. We have no time, human. The hunters come, the machines rise. If you wish to gamble your life with the tower, it must be now. David's fists clenched, his breath steaming in the cold. He looked at the black spire glowing through cracks in the ice. His voice was steady. Then now it is. They descended together, the cavern alive with strange light. The guardians stood at the edges, their glowing eyes following. They did not attack, not yet, as if waiting for his choice. David stepped closer to the tower, his heart pounding. Each step felt heavier, each breath harder. Zyra watched, her blade drawn, ready for hunters or machines. David pressed his hand. To the tower once more. The surface was cold but alive, like skin over steel. Light surged through the cavern, brighter than before. Symbols lit up across the spire, racing upward like fire. The guardians bowed their heads, their voices a deep rumble. Zyra gasped, shock in her voice. They kneel to you, human. David's body shook as energy flooded him. Images flashed in his mind, stars burning, worlds falling, ancient voices whispered. Too many to count, the tower spoke without words, a bond deeper than sound, it offered. Himfire, power beyond limits, but with it came a warning, destruction if misused. His knees almost gave way, but he stood firm. Zyra's hand gripped his shoulder, steadying him. "Do not lose yourself, human. You are not a god," she warned. David's eyes glowed faintly now, his voice stronger. "I am not a god. I am human, and that is enough." The ground shook. The hunters stormed into the cavern, their spears glowing, their voices cold. "Exile, your end is here, and the human dies with you." They charged, their blades bright against the ice. David lifted his hand, and the tower answered. Blue fire erupted across the cavern, walls glowing. Like suns beneath the snow, the guardians moved at his command, their heavy steps shaking the earth. For the first time, David felt no fear. "Only fire," he shouted, his voice echoing, "You want me? Then face me." The guardians clashed with the hunters, steel against steel, light against fire. The cavern roared with sound, the storm outside answering. David moved through the chaos, his eyes fixed on the spire. Every step gave him more strength, more power. Zyra fought beside him, her blade cutting down those who broke through. Together they moved like fire and ice. Unbroken, unstoppable. A spear grazed David's arm, pain burning. But he pressed on. Another hunter lunged. But the guardian crushed him with one blow. The hunters began to falter, fear creeping into their sharp voices. They had come to kill an exile, but found something greater. They faced a human who would not die, at last. The leader of the hunters stood before them, his armor black as night, his spear crackling with energy. He pointed at David, his voice sharp. "You should not exist. Human, the stars will burn you." Out. David stepped forward, the tower's fire in his voice. "Maybe, a tie will burn brighter than you can ever imagine." Their clash shook the cavern, sparks flying as spear met guardian's shield. Zyra struck fast, driving her blade. Into the leader's side, David raised his hand, the tower's fire surging. The hunter was thrown back, his armor shattered, his voice silenced. The cavern fell quiet, the storm outside fading. The hunters were gone, broken or fled. The guardians stood still, their glowing eyes fading back into silence. The tower's pulse slowed, calm once more. David fell to his knees, his chest heaving, his body shaking. Zyra knelt beside him, her voice soft, almost human. "You lived, human, against all. You lived." David lifted his head, his eyes tired but fierce. "This is not the end, Zyra. This is the beginning. If what you said is true, if your people mean to strip the stars, then Earth must be warned. And I will make sure they are ready." Zyra nodded, her voice steady. "Then I will stand with you, human, until the end." They looked at the spire, glowing faintly in the ice. It had chosen him. And now it was silent again, waiting. David felt its fire inside him, not just power, but promise. The promise that humans were not weak, not small. The promise that even in exile, even in ice, they could rise. The storm outside broke at last, the sky clear, stars burned above, bright and endless. David stood, his fire unbroken, his will unshaken, Zyra beside him. Her blade sharp, her exile no longer empty. Together they faced the stars, not as prisoner and stranger, but as allies. As sparks ready to ignite the dark, the human flame had been lit, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same.